Alright guys, in this tutorial we're going to learn how to have multiple product detail layouts. And what do I mean by that? If I go to the shop here in this demo site that we're going to be working with, if I go to product here and check this out, this is the product detail layout. So when I've drilled down to a product, and I get down to the nitty-gritty of it, this is where we're going to be focusing. And in Business Catalyst, you're generally given one layout here to work with. And with JavaScript, jQuery, and all that, you can get pretty creative with what you can do with this page here. But things get kind of crazy and bogged down as far as page load when you do that. You can see little flashes of this tweak going on while the JavaScript takes hold, and you run into other bugs like when you bring in product grouping and such. When BC runs its Ajax call to bring in this new content, things get just wacky for you. So it's always just been something that we've just accepted, one product detail for e-commerce. But no more. Let's get past that, and we're going to leverage JavaScript templating to pull this off. And I'm going to be using one that's a logicless templating system called Mustache, and definitely want to check this out. It's super fun to mess with, and we'll be reviewing this here in a second. I've got some examples to show you here down the road. But really what our goal is here and it won't be real fancy, it's just going to be simple to show you how we can get multiple templates here on product detail, and then you can take it from there and work some magic with this technology, because it really is pretty simple. And the beauty of this is that while it is JavaScript driven, it doesn't take serious JavaScript programming to make these templates. The beauty of JavaScript templating is that the HTML is taken away from the actual JavaScript, and you're going to be literally manipulating HTML with custom little tags here. I'll show you. Here's the demo for Mustache. And so Mustache is driven by JSON, or you can use actual objects as well. And in their example, we're going to be working with JSON here, and that's here. So we've all kind of probably seen JSON in our day as developers, or even as non-developers. You're at least familiar with it. It would be great if we could get all of the product detail information in JSON, but we can't in Business Catalyst. So we're going to be parsing a little bit of HTML and using data attributes to our advantage for populating JavaScript objects instead of JSON. So in this example this is what the actual template would look like, and it doesn't look too scary, does it? And I'll show you a more basic example here, but this is their demo. Basically, we have these little tags, these little curly brackets or braces. That's why they call this Mustache, I think, is because we're going to be using a lot of those, and it's kind of similar to other templating languages. They all have their unique way of outputting values, but this is how Mustache works, and it almost kind of looks like BC tags, huh? This won't be too foreign to you. And basically what's going on here, if I kill this, we don't really need this here. We've got a heading, and then we're going to be iterating through some scenarios here inside of the JSON, and we've even got some empty possibilities down here. This is a little complex, but basically if I render down here with this JSON here and this actual template right here, we get this HTML. And so that's probably not real clear yet, so I want to move over to my example here. I've got a basic CodePen set up, and I'm going to look at the actual template first. Let's expand this. This is what we're going to call a JavaScript template right here. And so it starts with a regular script tag, and these can go anywhere in your HTML. And I am giving it an ID here. Okay, for folks that are afraid of using IDs, they are okay occasionally in HTML if used wisely. And in this case, I can be pretty darn specific because IDs carry a large toll with them as far as specificity. And in this case, it's okay because I do want to be very specific. And then the type, where this is different from a regular JavaScript, where you might go text JavaScript. We're going to go text slash template. Okay. Browsers know what to do with this when they see this. Google's just gonna, and other search engines are just gonna skip right over this. This is JavaScript. It's not gonna get indexed. It's not gonna kill anybody if it's in the page. And in this case, we're just going to be outputting some upcoming shows here. They're just some movies or some sort of show that we have some data on, and we want to output them to the page. And in this case, we have actually more than one. And in another screencast, I may do multiple on-the-fly templates for web apps, where this might be kind of cool, of changing views for web apps. But in this case, we're only going to have one because we're on product detail. But I did want to show you that we can iterate through multiple items here. And so in our JSON, and we'll get to the JavaScript in a second, we have this parent node called shows, and it has children's elements that have keys and values. And in the template here, we're just going to be outputting those by referencing the keys for those particular items. So it's real simple HTML. We just wrap this HTML inside of the parent here and roll through the values. And then we close off our script here. So I have, in this case, I don't have any CSS to support this. It's just going to be outputted to the page. So it's not going to look too fancy, but of course, in your site's CSS, you could be targeting these classes here and make unique looks and fills. So I've got one JavaScript template on the page here, and then below this, I've got my actual div that I'm going to be outputting this information to, and I've given it a class of target-output. And then here I'm using this data attribute, and here's where I'm going to be changing my actual templates. Right now I've got it set up as A. We see that A right here. We're going to come back to that in a second. When we create a new template here, we'll be able to switch flip-flop between A and B. So the next template I'll name underscore B. We'll get there. So that's the HTML. We see the actual template in action here. If I got rid of the opening and closing script tags, this is all of the HTML would look like. So it's pretty simple. So that's that. Let's take a gander at the CSS. There's actually none. I am normalizing here just so the fonts and stuff look kind of normal. And then let's go over to the JavaScript real quick and take a look at that. Up at the top here, we're just defining a few variables, and I left this, it's very verbose right now so that you could just read it and it would make sense. There's actually an error. There we go. Okay, so the target container, remember in our markup here, here's our div that we are targeting. That's all that's going on there. And then below that, we have a variable called target defined. That's the data attribute. Remember that we assign the value of A to. And then the template, we're going to actually define what the template is that we're choosing. So remember, I had that naming scheme with mustache template, and that's camel humped with the underscore, and then this dynamic value is that A that we had on that attribute here. So I can quickly come into that and change that out to something else if I wanted to use a different template, and that's what we're focusing on here, is multiple templates. And then here is our JSON, and this is just real simple JSON. And in our example for BC, for the product detail, we won't be using JSON. We're going to be using an actual JavaScript object, which looks pretty much like this. We'll be leveraging dot notation. So in this just quick little overview, we'll just leverage JSON like Mustache can work with as well. So here's our JSON. I brought that over into this JSON online editor, which, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, this site rules. And I've plunked it in over here, and when you do that, you can actually read things very well. We have this parent item of shows, and then all these children over here and their keys and values. So I know my JSON is intact and well formatted. So I'm going to go back to my example and continue on down here in the JavaScript. And so this line right here, var HTML equals mustache dot to underscore HTML, and then we're opening and closing here with the template, which is what we've defined up here. This is just the mustache JavaScript here. This is the only thing that's kind of proprietary to mustache.js here, is this function to underscore HTML, and we pass two variables here. We pass the actual template we want to use, and then we pass the data, and that's right here. And again, in our example, we'll be converting JSON to actual JavaScript objects. And then once we have our HTML, this is everything. Mustache has worked its magic to all this information here. We're going to spit that out to our target container, which was defined up here. And so that's that. It's nothing real crazy. I think everyone can kind of wrap their heads around this level of JavaScript if you're developing. And the BC version is actually a little simpler. And here we are outputting our information using this template right here. So that's cool. Let's create another template. So this would be you or your client, and this is where the power comes in of using JavaScript templating. If I wanted to change, let's just say I wanted to change the order of these. Using JavaScript, you'd have to come in here, target these elements after they've been outputted to the page, and then manipulate the DOM. So you're going to have a lot of bulky JavaScript. Making updates down the road is going to be a pain in the butt. In this case, let's say the client has come to me and they said, you know what, Joe, all I really want to output to the page here is just the title and the description, and I thought it would be cool so that they were bold. So let's go in and let's create just basically another JavaScript template for that. I'm going to copy the existing one we have. I'll come down here and paste that. And I'm going to, right off the bat, name it something else. I'm going to give it a different ID because you don't want multiple IDs on the page. Okay, so right now, if I hit save, nothing's going to happen because we haven't changed this value right here. If I did change it, nothing, oops, I don't want to save. Nothing's really changed because the template is the same. So if we remember, our client asked for us to remove the video and the category values, and they wanted bold here. So you can actually see this happening down in the window below. Once I learn how to type, you can see it happening on the fly. Great. So with that quick of a change, I just came in and changed that template. I didn't go into the JavaScript or anything. I just changed this HTML, and this is the sexy part of using JavaScript templating. As you can see, you can get real creative here. Let me create a different template here. Let's get into like emulating, let's say a kind of like a table format. So basically, if I come in here and I'm inside the opening and closing shows node here, I can do anything I want. So I'm going to code up a template real quick. I'm going to pause not to bore you. Okay, so I've coded a quick table here, and what I'm going to do is come in here and grab I want the title to be the first guy, and I want the description to be the next one. Okay, and then I'm just going to grab let's just type that in. So we'll open the title and we'll close those off. And then description, you see that there's three curly braces there. Anything, if you have HTML inside of the value for a key, you in mustache.js, you actually want to wrap it in three of those. So it renders as HTML. It's pretty cool stuff. So I've got my new template. This is a table, so I've actually completely tweaked the layout here. So I'll choose C. And now I've got my information laid out here in a table. So you can see how powerful this is. You could just quickly, you could use JavaScript, some sort of changer or switcher, and change out templating on the fly here, or assign these values ahead of time. In our BC example, I'm going to be using a custom field to define our template. So I'm just going to be throwing A, B, and C and so on in a custom field, and when you land on that detail view, it's going to fire the appropriate template. So that's a quick overview of Mustache.js and just basically JS templating in general. I find it pretty powerful, and you can use it in all other areas of BC. Web apps I think would be really cool as well.